An artist, a paint artist paints on a canvas, musicians paint on silence. Really, when you think about it.
Well, this is the Brotherhood of Love.
Ah, don't know them, never seen them.
Really? Well, get a load of these guys.
This would be bloody cool.
This is actually the original Streamliners.
Ah,
Rob with Mario on the drums is the only difference.
Ah, yeah.
You first saw the Streamliners what year?
That was the gig that in town was the very first gig I'd ever seen them live.
Right.
Never seen them live before.
Yeah, right.
I heard them in the studio.
Who was that, sorry?
Nick Love, and who was working at the John Reynolds recording studio in Weymouth Street, right next to the John Reynolds store. John had a recording studio upstairs in one and building next door, and I was recording an album. An original album. I was in formed a band, a project. It was really called Adult Toys. I mean, and yeah, it's just don't know what. I just thought it had a double.
Great name.
It had a double meaning. You know what I mean?
And this is adult music. Adult entertainment.
You know, because and I had we had my studio was in Highley Street, and you'd see Adult Toys and everything. I thought, Adult Toys, stupid.
Great name.
And I thought that's a great name for a band, though. And but anyway, we're recording, and Nick, who helped Adult Toys a lot, beautiful man and a supporter of music. Obviously knew these guys, and he said, actually, no, I was probably on a reel-to-reel. He played the reel-to-reel, and I'm going, nah, man, these guys this is bought from, they sounded so slick and real, and I thought, they're not mucking around, they're the real deal. And I thought, wow.
You wanna tell me more? Tell me more. You wanna tell me more? What you looking for? You're looking over here, looking over there. Get more done. Nobody cares. Take another look. Although the sun is shining, when it's all out, there ain't no silver lining.
Wow, sitting in our own hometown, how come nobody knows them?
Well, because they don't want to go anywhere else.
It's, yeah, I know, and that's the problem with music. If you don't make it happen, it doesn't happen, but it shouldn't be that way. When you see some artists are the bloody worst. They think, oh no, I just got to work on it. And the more of an artist you are, the less you care about money, ambition, and all that sort of stuff. And in fact, I'm kind of speaking personally. Every time I feel like I'm doing a business deal and trying to further myself, I feel like it's chipping away at my soul. And I go, I've got to go and do some penance. This is the Catholic guy.
If you want to do this full time, though,
I've got to go and do some blues penance for this and go and really knuckle down and play, because it, to me, dealing with money, it's dirty. Dealing with people, and I've got promoters that are dear friends. I'm sorry, guys, because people like Mario Maiola, I love him, but they've made so much money out of musicians, and I know the way they talk about them. Promoters in general, and it's these musicians that make it happen.
See, when I was a young'un, all I wanted to do was I wanted to be rich and unknown.
Rich and unknown.
Yeah. but it all went the wrong way around. I became very well known and not rich.
Yeah. So the two are mutually.
Yeah, it pisses me off a little bit. I'd like that rich bit and not be known, you know.
No, it would have fucked you up, Dutch. Don't worry about the money bit. Money gets in the way of so much stuff.
No. You plan not to plan?
Well, what's the point? I mean, you know, plants of mice and men and all that.
No. Gang F Affley is actually the original quote. It's Welsh.
Does it?
Gang F Affley go off in Australia.
Yeah, well.
And it's like, oh yeah, just give us a place to stay and a couple of beers and a bit of small change in the pocket, while the alcohol's being sold, squillions, promoters are making money, production companies, sound, roadies. I used to look at roadies and go, wow, I wish I had their money.
People from a Greek background to be playing blues is, you know, a bit odd, really.
It is, yeah. Is that what made your ears prick up, or was it?
Yeah, it was actually, because when they first started playing, you know, back in '89, the owner of the venue they were playing said, "Can't believe this, you've got a great blues band playing," and he says, "Aren't they Greek?"
I mean, in Adelaide, we take our roots from everywhere, yeah?
Of course, because that's where the migration, especially early 50s, that's when my dad came, mid-50s, because it was an influx. Yeah. Australia after the war, obviously, the industry was picking up, they needed people to work. Places like Italy, Greece, after the war, they had nothing, and all these young people with no jobs, so it just made sense. Bring people over to work, you know, it's like, I grew up in Athens, so I came here when I was 15, 16. My dad was here in the 50s and my mum, they went back to Greece. I was born here, so I was only 2 years old when they went back in 1970. Yeah, but it was a lot of, growing up in Greece, it was interesting because there was it was Greek music, it was rock and roll music, it was blues music, like I was into Johnny Winter. Rory Gallagher was huge when I was growing up, it was like massive in the 80s, you know, it was like, wow. So yeah, there's a lot of that element that I was exposed to in Greece, and then coming here, obviously, then, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan was out, so I was into that, and then I got into blues as in the older stuff.
Bit of country blues, beautiful.
He's a bit like Eric Clapton, he can't play anything else.
Oh, okay.
But blues.
Oh, right.
Really? But whereas Nick Kipridis plays all sorts.
Everything. Great sound too, Nick.
I love Stevie Ray Vaughan because that was the time I was in my late teens. I actually saw Jimmy Vaughan and Stevie Ray Vaughan back in the Theberton Theatre in the 86 would have been the year. Yes, in 1986. It was a great night. I remember the band opening. It was the Fabulous Thunderbirds, so I didn't know who they were. So I'm watching this band with my friend from high school, and we're just watching, thinking, after about 2 songs, we're thinking it's a local band, and we said to each other, we've got to find out where those guys play and go and check them out, you know, because they're bloody good. Not knowing that was actually the Fabulous Thunderbirds. But we listened to the Blues Power station, because I was going with Paul Tweedy.
So you're talking about 3D?
Yeah, 3D, that's exactly right, yeah. And I will listen to it every week and record the show with cassettes and then listen back to it during the week. And then go to the record store, and if I see a name of an artist that I kind of heard there, I will buy the album and I go home and listen to the album and just...
So this is whereabouts were you listening to this? Sort of when you were growing up, or
it would be in my early 19. It would be just like late 80s. We were late 80s. It would have been around my 20s. Yeah, from 19 to 20. That's the time I got really started getting into blues. And I was living with my dad. I came into Australia. I was staying with my dad, and he goes, just go and visit a friend of mine. He's got couple of boys that play music. I say, yeah, okay, probably another, couple of boring kids. So I walk in and I see.
Where's this?
The Gov's excellent new beer deck.
Oh, that thing, yeah. I've been there a couple of times.
It's a great venue.
Yes.
Great sound.
It came. One of the good things that came out of COVID.
Yes, it did.
When we could only
and the,
be outside.
Opening up the lounge as being the, whatever they call it, still the gumbo room, but it's more like the gumbo lounge, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And the gumbo deck.
Yeah, because it was just restaurant material before then, and now we can go there and eat and watch music.
That's right, and Thursday nights has just become fantastic.
Started jamming, and we kept our friendships since. And it wasn't until about 4 or 5 years later they said to me, look, we want to put a blues band together, because we used to get together and jam. Would you be interested? I said, absolutely, so that's how the Streamliner started back in 1989.
Loose as anything.
Magic Sam number. That riff is a Magic Sam riff.
Irresistible, isn't it?
But we've changed the groove. And we changed the groove at the last minute. What does this remind you of? Sex and drugs and rock.
Yeah.
No, it's got that.
Drugs and rock and roll.
They've got such strong time and groove individually. Such a strong sense of time individually, and then you put them together, they play together for so long, they just know what each other's going to do, they know how to complement. The big thing that they've got massive ears. They're listening all the time.
Moving on up the country. Yeah. That's where I want to go.
Sav would have to be one of the purest slide players that we have in Adelaide. It's a really unique sound.
Is that Sav?
That's the one. It goes right.
He's part of the Greek mythology of Adelaide.
Yeah.
Peter Fish-Tunis, Jack Mahalis.
But hasn't Chris Saul just...
Oh, he's just got...
He's really come of age. Like, he's always been great, but
Yeah.
now he's just magnificent.
Well, he had a major health issue.
But it's made him.
Yeah.
Before, he was just incredible. Now, he is just...
But that's how artistry works.
Oh.
The great artists, whether they're dancers, whether they're musicians, whether they're artists, they live in a world of turmoil, and it's the turmoil that creates the artistic genius.
He's even made reference to it himself. Now he just exists purely for the music.
Yeah. And it's probably
You can hear
his
that.
sax that saw him through a lot of his traumas is probably the music that was his.
And we're hearing that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And you can hear the pain in the music, and that's why it resonates with people. Because
It turns it into something beautiful.
Exactly. It takes that horrible experience and transforms it into a spiritual experience.
Magnificent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looks like Mario on drums.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Billy Bob as well. That's so Chris. Just outside the whole time, both in his life, which is a metaphor for his playing. I know Chris well. He's one of those unique Adelaide musicians that could have probably achieved a lot globally, but for whatever reasons has chosen to stay in Adelaide and confront his devils and demons here.
Lucky us.
Lucky us, or lucky Adelaide, yeah. I've never heard Mario play like this.
You know, you got levels, like you've got dynamic levels, you know, guys have got, and layers, and how you can make something get intense, like how you can make the music be more intense. Dennis has got an endless layer. His layers don't stop. Like he can start here and just gradually, and it's not only dynamics like loud or soft, it's how he plays his lines, like a line, the way he plays his lines different ways, where he plays up the neck, the way his sound, he does like the mute, he mutes his sound. He's got this thing, we call it the claw, the Dennis claw, the way he plays, and he can really build something, and he can really make it intense. But not only, like I said, not only dynamically, but the way he sounds harmonically as well, the way he does different lines. He's really getting into his pedals at the moment, which
he loves gadgets.
He loves gadgets now. That's like a new, so that's in the last couple of years has got into that. I think he's always been into that, but it's come out more and more.
He loves smoke machines.
He loves smoke machines as well. So
stop using the smoke machine, Dennis.
Keep doing it.
Smoke machines make it hard for you to film.
Just a bit. And Dennis's smoke machine gets out of control all the time. So this is the case for the defence.
No, it's not defence. That's the gig at the Cumberland Arms. And Iron Moth, the Ballad of Iron Moth is one song that we actually turn on the smoke machine. So there I pressed it, right? Just trying to smoke this place out. It becomes almost like the Spinal Tap of the evening. And I released the button and this thing wouldn't stop squirting smoke.
Machine is not stopping. It's on a rampage. Death by smoke machine. Smoke machine's gone terribly. I hope they don't have any smoke alarms in here.
And so I hit it a few times, and it just wouldn't stop, right? And there we are. You're filming this actually, and I remember seeing it on YouTube, and you've got about 2 or 3 cameras, and because this smoke just became this kind of monstrous cloud, you know, and it's coming out the audio. Your camera's trying to focus into something, and what's so funny about it is, as you get a lens of a camera and you start unfocusing, you get those beads of lens, rainbow, how do you call it, I don't know the technical term, but they come into the picture, and you couldn't time it better because you think it's kind of this trippy section of the whole, and this smoke, it wouldn't stop. I mean, it just flooded the whole bar to the point that they had to open all the doors just to release the thing, and you thought the whole building was on fire. And that song became synonymous with the smoke machine getting stuck, right? And it actually puts everyone in this frame of mind as you're playing along. This kind of monstrous cloud becomes part of your psychic, and you kind of get sort of almost taken over by this thing that affects your music. And I mean, the visual play was incredible. And there's another gig about 4 weeks later that we did. I think it could have been the Gaslight. And the machine got stuck for the same song. Work that one out. I don't know what's there, but yeah. Anyway, Smoke Machine.
I do think he's a bit of an unsung. Dennis is a bit of sort of an unsung sort of hero, isn't he? You know.
He makes stuff happen.
He does. I imagine.
And he really goes over the top with making stuff happen, particularly for other bands.
Yes.
Yes, Dennis goes above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to promoting a show. But it's great. It's really good to have that input from the artists. A lot of musicians are wonderful songwriters and performers, but not necessarily so great at promoting themselves. And Dennis is, I guess, a combination of that, and I think that's why.
And for me, I think my passion lies not only as a performer, but these days as a promoter, having booked my own bands in the past. I think the excitement, the passion comes for me is seeing fantastic, talent, either as a performer or as a songwriter, and seeing that that's not been exposed enough to, to audiences. The passion that I get is
having your heart's in the right place.
Yeah. Yes.
Dennis got the gigs, all right, because Dennis was in the guy that would go out there. And
oh yeah, look, Dennis has done a great job, promoting blues over the years. Probably the best example is the Deep South Festival that he had at the Gov, and that was a great festival. They had for a couple of years there, they had 3 stages in the Gov, and it was fantastic. A lot of festivals involve lots of walking around in the rain and inclement weather and the like, but to have that festival at the Gov with the 3 different stages, you can move from room to room.
Well, like you say about the Gov, it's unusual in that in those separate rooms you can have 2 separate gigs going on.
Yeah, well, when the Deep South was on, they had 3. They had the front bar and the bar, the restaurant bar, and then obviously the main venue. So yeah, it was pretty unique. I don't think I've ever come across that before anywhere else. And as I say, Dennis really worked hard to curate, a top class lineup. And of course, the local bands got their shot as well, so they got promoted as well as the interstaters. And yeah, it's a pity it doesn't still happen, I reckon. But obviously, it's gone down south now. It's a different thing, but
and obviously
still a great festival.
The Gov is actually putting on a lot of music.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
What is it that keeps you coming back to the Gov?
Well, I think it's a bit of an institution for live music, and it has, a great heritage. I mean, it has been supporting a lot of roots music for a long, long, long time.
It's Billy Bob.
Well, Billy Bob.
I've been in the Barbecue Boys every now and then as a little fill-in emergency.
Big shoes.
Big shoes to fill. Yeah, I think Bill's shoes are about size 17 or something, aren't they?
Yeah, we used to do that all the time.
We used to go all the time.
We used to get up
James
and
was the
like
drummer, and Dusty was on guitar. It's not Dusty's not there anymore. And Jamie James obviously isn't there. Yeah, we used to play that all the time, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we used to just.
And Bill's great how he does it.
Yeah, he's a great frontman, funny guy, man. We've had some funny times with him.
I think I don't know if he likes us though. I mean, he does, but we're a bit tripped out.
We've had some funny times there. We used to go a lot.
We used to run amok there.
Yeah. Like, play over. Like he'd walk past, he'd be like,
You know this one? Nah, keep going, man. It sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty fun. Just take those old records. Sit and listen to them myself. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time rock and roll. I like that old time disco. You never even heard me out on the floor. 10 minutes never let go at all. I like that old time rock and roll. Still like that old time rock and roll. The kind of music just soothes the soul. I'm playing the next about the radio. I like that old time rock and roll. It's hard.
And those musicians, they're nurturing the next generation too.
Absolutely, and this is where Dennis is so fantastic in doing that. Yeah.
He certainly is, and not only the youth in blues, but also the Shadow Ministers, fantastic.
Good evening. We are the Shadow Ministers.
It's real for me. I keep trying, but what's this? Feel the boogie. It's good for me. I keep trying.
Pearse, Jason.
Oh, look, I'm so proud of Jason. I've known Jason since he was little. Him and one of my sons used to play together, and I knew his mum. She was my art teacher, Julia, and he has. I still see him as a little boy. I know he's a man and everything, but I still see him as this curly-haired, tall, little, skinny, dorky kid, and he has just had this passion of music.
He's incredibly talented.
Oh, yeah.
And here we're talking the Sexy Boys, Shuffle Shack.
I like the way you talk. I like the way you kiss. I like the way you push away. You make me wanna miss. You're everywhere. You're like a ball and chain. If I don't get my shit together, I wanna love again. Just hit me, man. Yeah.
Jesse's got such a great feel.
Wow, guitar, my goodness me. Yeah, for a guy who's primarily known as a keyboard player, I guess, but
Well, that's how he started.
He's even better on guitar.
Yeah. He's actually left-handed. Did you know that? You heard that story?
I didn't know that.
So he started off playing piano back in the 70s.
Sorry, hang on, let's just get this. Sorry, what's this story?
Well, he started off, this is how he told me, he started off
Deane-Freeman,
as a teenager playing piano in a school band in the 70s, and of course there was no electric keyboards back then, so it was very limiting because you can't just cart a piano off to a party. And so he got frustrated, so he decided to learn the guitar. And he was left-handed, and the only person he had to show him how to play guitar was the bass player, who was right-handed. And he got frustrated trying to, transpose from right to left, so he just decided to play right-handed. So there you go.
The things you can do if you're a genius.
Well, that's right, exactly, and he is a genius. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, Jesse Deans was up there as well. Yeah.
You one end at the top. People pick them up, and then you've got 250 kilos, and it doesn't balance that well.
No.
So it's like, what? This end's heavier than that. So if you carry it, it wants to just tip over.
Is this the biggest one?
Yeah, this is C3. The B3 is the same size, but it has a leg on the front.
You lock this?
Yeah, I've got the key for it.
It locks up, so you can lock your keyboard so I'm dirty right. Can't urinate on it. Look, I'm sorry about that. It's just, I just saw it and I thought, that's a good place to urinate.
When I first saw Jesse way back, late 80s I think it was, first time I saw Jesse. He was a young tacker then, really young kid. And he was playing with a local blues musician called Greg Baker at the time. I don't know if you know Greg.
No.
Greg's moved to Brisbane now, or just above Brisbane somewhere. But back then, Greg Baker was one of the key figures in the local blues scene. And Jesse was playing keyboards and guitar in Greg's band.
Say my first time here, and I thoroughly enjoyed your singing voice. It was quite besotting, so to speak.
Jesse's shit at taking praise.
We all laugh. Jesse's so funny. He's got this continuous grin and smile on his face.
Yeah,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, so cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Bye-bye.
See you.
And you've been playing music for how long?
Well, I started when I was 7 or so on piano, and then I was doing gigs when I was 13, 14.
Baby, all I
Well, that little spot there, we were just playing with the Shuffle Shack, and Jesse just rode his motorbike to the gig, and we caught him up. So we plugged him in, and just off we went. But Jesse's like in that percentage of the best on the planet.
How old were you guys when you first got a paying gig?
Paying gig 17, I think, I believe.
Jason, how old were you when you first got
Well,
a paying gig? Well, you still haven't ever had a paying gig.
I'm still waiting. I've got to send the invoices through. My first paying gig, I would have been about 9 years old.
Wow.
I was really lucky because my dad was a musician and he was playing a lot of country music, and he would get me and my brother to sort of be, I guess, a little novelty kid thing and back him up. And that was my little first proper on stage, really playing.
Did you get to keep the money?
We got $50 or something each.
Did you get to keep the money?
Yeah.
Did you get to spend the money?
Yeah, I forgot what I
Did you
spent.
buy a record?
Probably, maybe. It could have contributed to music for sure, but it was a long time ago.
You did well. You're a bunch of kids and you've been practicing and you've got enough chops to...
Played instrumentals. We played instrumentals.
Yeah.
The originals, the boys, our expertise came when we played The Shadows.
Yes.
And Michael insisted that we played note for note.
Yep.
So therefore, exponentially, we were learning as we went along.
Yep.
Because, we had to get the balance right and everything. So that was a huge learning curve for us, and that set us in good stead for balance, not being too loud for various areas. And musically, even though it was only rock and roll, rhythm and blues, about 3 or 4 chords, by playing The Shadows, we were increasing our musical ability. And so that really came in, and so we had the balance, and we were called the Mustangs, and we used to play on top of a fish and chip shop on Jetty Road, Glenelg. I'll never forget, we got 2 shillings. Their best paying night was 2 bob each. We go down and we'd spend it on a Hawaiian hamburger and a Coke. And anyway, this is at the top of a fish and chip shop opposite, down the East End, opposite the old Ozone Picture Theatre, but it's no longer there, just up the top there. And this bloke, Graham Longley, was driving along down the street and he heard us. So he come up and then he said, "You're manager," so he did.
Now, okay, so my first band was a school band, Magnum. I don't reckon we ever had a poster. Never had a poster. But then I moved into I thought 78, I'd go professional. So actually I've given it to you on the USB and it's called Lazarus.
Great.
That band turned into Serpentine. So it's on your USB, so yeah. And Lazarus actually I don't think ever did a gig because we changed our name to Serpentine before we did a gig, I think. God, it goes so back.
Oh my God, that makes it collectible.
This is 78. I might get some timeline things, some things right, but I don't think Lazarus would have done a commercial type gig. If we did, it would have been just something to muck around with. So Lazarus would have been my first poster, so it's there somewhere. And then Serpentine, I've got some Serpentine posters on that USB that you can have a look at. And the first poster that I went, whoa, that's a ripper, and it's a Dukes poster, and it's like this, evil god in armour. Because we wrote a song called Rock and Roll Justice, and he was smashing the hammer down on over the heavens. And it's Rock and Roll Justice as and we were underneath it as the Dukes up against this wall,
Not afraid.
And not afraid, man. It's 20 years old. And the artist I've forgotten his name. His offices on South Road there at Theberton.
Really? So you really got professional. You weren't just getting a friend to do it.
Yeah, no, that was a professional. He was an artist, and then we took it to printers and stuff like that. Yep. Yeah. What's the fascination with the posters? Why?
No, because there's this other bit there where we talk about Dennis Kipridis, because Dennis Kipridis is someone who makes stuff happen because someone's got to make it happen.
Yes, yeah.
And he organises gigs not only for himself but for some of the younger musicians coming through. Like Somnium, the Shadow Ministers, which is like young Pearse. And
are these young bands?
Yeah.
I've got to get some contacts for these because I want to try to maybe get a gig or two for some of these young bands.
Yeah.
That, because people ring me up and there's a festival or a special show that they want to promote with some young artists. And I'm not in the loop, so I've got to get...
Well, you'll see a band called Somnium here.
Okay.
Who are almost unknown.
Oh, yeah.
And they're great. To mention Velvet Moth and how you guys came to get that gig supporting the Moth.
Yeah. Well, Nick Kipridis came. Okay. He messaged me saying, and I told him about we've got a band, Somnium. He just asked. He wanted us to play and support him, and he's just seen us around. I think that skate park gig. I don't know if it was through you. Was it you that recorded when we played at the skate park? Yeah.
Oh, you're coming to me with that soulful look on your face. Coming looking like you never got one broken. Many fantastic colors.
Who are they?
Somnium.
Somnium, what does it mean?
Great band.
So many fantastic colors. Makes me feel so good. Got that pure fear, such good responses. You've got the rainbow fear, but the rainbow has a fear.
Yeah, it was great that kids their age know that sort of stuff.
The little fella who was obviously even younger then, 4 years old or something, 3, and he's on his scooter, and you're just doing the usual parent sort of thing, and I was like, this is pretty good shit, actually. And I was like, yeah, all right. So I went fucking way home, came back with a gear and got that.
That's so good.
Thank goodness, because now I love it.
Yeah.
And obviously Nick Kipridis saw it and gave you that gig, and here you are sitting here talking about Nick Kipridis.
It's probably why, I think. That's probably how he came to us.
some of the most amazing musicians in the world. Nick Panasakis.
Oh, Nick Panasakis. Tell me about Nick Panasakis.
I think he's probably, he's second to none. There is no better.
I don't think there's anyone that gets up that end of the guitar so amazingly.
That's right, so fast and so boldly.
As he does.
I'm not going to say he's the best, but there is no better.
He's second to none, yeah.
There's something about the Greek boys
True.
In Adelaide, and I know that in the area that I live in Torrensville, there's more Greeks per square centimetres than there is outside of Athens. Although we always used to say Melbourne was the biggest Greek city, but in terms of density of to the population, it's the Greek boys, and it really shows itself in the music scene.
You see, and so their ears can pick up. Oh no, that's a bent note. Oh, that's sharpened. But they pick up, and so this is why the Greeks, when they've got a natural skill towards something, and they work on it. They have massive ears, like Mario said, not only for the melody, and the dance for rhythm, and that's why they are magnificent.
Very modest kind of people, they're very unassuming. They just go about their business,
Club food would have been one of the first gigs I recall we did. It was in the city, obviously just off Rundle Street, I believe. And we opened up for the Dutch Tilders band.
Wow. Dutch Tilders, only the coolest guy I've ever met.
Basically, I look at my past, and I to quote Brownie McGee, said, "You can't buy my past, and I'll give you nothing for your future."
Yeah. I think it was one of the very first few first gigs. We played probably a party before that, but that was one of the very first gigs.
You would have seen it way back in '89.
Yeah. Yeah, when they used to play club foot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And what were they like then?
They were young. Yeah.
Raw?
No, they were pretty smooth back then. Yeah, they weren't really. They've never been all that raw.
First time I saw the Streamliners. I saw the Streamliners in Gawler. It would have been early 80s. It was actually their first gig. Very first gig. I was told about it, and it was a sort of this garage band that was doing their first gig. Young guys, young Greek guys. They're playing in a chicken shed, you know, and so I went along. I knew the person who was having I think it was a 21st birthday or a 25th birthday.
I think I remember the gig. It was a party. It was somebody's birthday. It was one of those gigs where you just really just like, you know, people. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that gig. Yeah, that would have been 1990. It would have been early, around January, February 1990, because the band got together in '89. We did September, October. We did a demo, like a little tape that we were getting gigs, and then I remember that gig being in 1990. Yeah.
And the Kipridis brothers were cousins to this particular person who lived at Gawler, and so they got the first gig. I went along and checked them out, and man, they had the Streamliner sound. They had the Streamliner sound already down. The very first gig they did. They were great. They were great. I felt like strangling them. They were really good.
When did you first meet and play music with Sav?
I first saw Sav in 1994. It was mid-year exam time. We had just finished doing exams. I was at uni, studying the jazz course at uni. Mm-hmm. And we were walking down Highley Street, and the front page was happening. And I walk in, and there they are, the Streamliners. Mm. And my jaw dropped to the ground. I thought, this is it. And all the other guys, my whole group, they said, come on, let's go. I said, see you later, mate. I'm staying right here. Sav, Nick, Dennis, and Steve. That's when I first met Sav.
The snakes lie on the water, crawl on Jesus' bed.
They're just amazing together, aren't they?
Together?
Yeah.
Mm.
Started off.
We have Sav in there.
Sav was with us for a long, long time. Yeah, Sav was with us from the onset. Chicago blues, really. That's what we're doing. We're copying Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and all those sort of things. We ran across a harmonica playing friend at the time, a guy called Roger Cufoni, and we thought, well, let's put a blues band together, because you know, what else do you do with a harmonica player? And he was into it too. He was into copying James Cotton and all those guys.
So where did those influences come for you and Dennis? I mean, this is what your parents are listening to? Or?
Oh no, not at all. I mean, we actually started playing in garage bands way before that, through high school.
But your taste in music must have come from somewhere.
Yeah, but you know, it was our taste in music was pretty much the same all along. We were getting into heavy rock bands at the time, and we were getting into blues as well. So it was all overlapping.
Yeah. Was there a lot of people playing instruments around at the time? Or?
Our dad was. Our dad came from a music background. He was playing Greek music when he first moved here in '64.
Dennis was playing in the Greek band, playing bouzouki, and Nick was playing bass, I think. And the dad was a guitar player.
It's no surprise.
Yes.
Look, the thing that a lot of these guitar players and musicians have got in common, they're Greek. Right? Now, Mario's Italian. He's from Naples. And I'm Sicilian. Oh, we might as well be Greek too. But that's another story.
That's true.
That's another story. The thing about Greek music is it lends so much from the Middle East and even, Asia, from way back.
Those trade links, yeah.
And the scales, see, in the blues, you've got that, you've got your guitar and you've got your frets. So, and you've got your standard scales. And the blues is beautiful because they flatten a lot of notes, like the third, the fifth, and the seventh, or they add ninths and sharpen ninths or sharpen sevenths, and they does all that, and so the blues has a little bit of a colour. But you see, the thing is with Greek people, they have been brought, and the Greeks are very traditional. They hang on to their tradition, even the ones that come out here. And so their music and their dance is not only rhythmic, but it's got all these in-between notes. And on a sitar, on a sitar, there'll be so many bloody notes because there are no frets, so to speak. So, like Thelonious Monk, sorry, I'm going to go way, but Thelonious Monk, someone said, well, you're the best piano player in the world. Why do you practice, 7 hours a day? He goes, well, on the keyboard, you got all these white notes and then you got all these black notes. I'm trying to get in the crack. I've been trying to get in the crack. The Greeks get in the crack.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk about how Nick and Dennis and the rest of them listen to what's being played. But the interesting thing for me is how much those guys have listened to music, like the different types of music they've listened to. They're very eclectic, and I think that comes out in their playing as well. I know Dennis is reluctant to walk into a record store because when he does, you know, he'll come out with 100 albums, you know, all across all different genres, you know, and I think that's reflected in what they play as well.
Having played with Nick and Sav for many years, you know, and the funny thing is probably Sav mentioned how we all came together. When Sav migrated back from Athens, you know, his dad just lived around the corner from my brother and I was still a teenager then. I was probably about, oh God, same age as Sav, 15.
Mm-hmm.
Nick's, you know, two and a half years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And so we still lived at home. At that time, Nick and I were playing a combination of Greek music on weekends because I was playing bouzouki from the age of 7 or 8. Dad was a part-time musician, so there was music in the family. So then when we decided to do rock, well, Nick already played guitar, so I had to pick up the bass, and we sort of progressed and did some rock stuff.
That's what you call a guitar jam. Just warming up. Just warming up.
But anyway, long story short, that was the period that we were getting serious into our rock stuff, you know, listening to Jimi Hendrix, The Who, you know, anything, Hawkwind, Johnny Winter, Jeff Beck. We're thankful where we're living. We had this library, West Torrens Library around the corner. Nick and I used to go there every week, and they have a series of cassettes. And Nick used to borrow the Guitar Player magazine, an American publication. We used to read about this stuff. In particular, Nick's a big reader. He used to read about stuff, right? And I mean, here's the thing. You know, we heard a lot about rock music and psychedelic music and everything else, and we're still in high school. Nick was 16 at the time. I was in first year, so I was only 13. Anyway, the first album Nick ever bought, when we used to walk from our house to Thebarton High School, it was a long walk. We used to pass past this music shop called Mr. Music.
Wow.
Right?
Well, that was a trap.
Yeah. Anyway, and we used to go in there after and just look at these records. We couldn't afford anything, but you know, our kind of weekly allowance of 50 cents a week, whatever will be given, rather than buying lunch and stuff, whatever it is, we'll stack it aside. And Nick saved enough money one time, you know, this pocket full of change, whatever he had, and he had his eye on one album, not because it was the best album, but that's all he can afford, $7.99, you know. Wow. And it was a Jimi Hendrix compilation, right?
Wow.
So anyway, and he read about Hendrix and stuff like that. And thankfully we had radio back then, like we said, Triple M, which is now 3D. And you can tune into those community radio stations, and the people, you know, people who are fanatical about their music and just real characters and listen to what they're playing. And it's funny because you read about things, and a lot of things that we're reading at the time was a lot of obscure music. So
Sorry about that. We all took a tab of acid before we got here tonight, so that explains a lot.
How many do you have, Nico? Just the two.
Long story short, on the way back from high school, he managed to save all this money, goes to the counter, and there's all the change, and the guy's looking at him like, oh God. Anyway, so he bought this Jimi Hendrix album, and we went home, and he sort of hid it from the folks. Let's see. Anyway, and one time the folks went out on a weekend, and we still had in our living room those big Astor TVs, you know, the ones with the massive thing, you know, with valves operating.
A big piece of furniture.
It looks gorgeous. Still have it. Anyway, so there's a record player in there, and so when the folks snuck out, or went out to visit a friend. Nick whipped out this album, and living room, the TV's down there, and we've got a big couch. We're sitting there, and Nick puts it on. And the first song is Voodoo Child, right? So he comes up with this fading in the guitar going, and Eddie Kramer, the engineer, just an amazing engineer. The way he kind of swells things, he makes things move around. If you listen to, things are going from one speaker to another. He's adding echo and flange on things, so it's getting this three-dimensional, almost quadraphonic sound in this living room. And we're both sitting on this couch, and it starts because it comes in softly. We think, is this thing work? You kind of hear this, coming in, and then the first line comes in, and we're sitting there with our jaws dropped, right? And he plays that first line, right? The hi-hat comes in, and you go, what was that? And then the bass drum comes in, boom, 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 and this thing was kind of, you thought the roof was going to come down because it was just like a massive sound with these big units, And when the whole band came in, the whole thing exploded. I mean, it was like taking drugs. We were just so euphoric, just going, geez, you just thought you were just tripping, listening to this music. And we couldn't get over that first song.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was our introduction to rock music, and we used to muck around. Long story short, with Sav, his dad and my dad knew each other. They were just neighbourhood friends. And Sav's dad was a character too. And he says, "Oh, here's my son. He just came from him. Meet the boys." And here's Nick. He was already in the bedroom playing the Stratocaster. And he saw Sav's eyes light up. He goes, "Oh," because his dad obviously took him around to a bunch of other families at the time. Just. When you're a geek into a certain thing, it doesn't matter if it's science or music or art, you're looked upon as a weird kid because you don't have the...
You're a niche kid.
Yeah, that's me, one of those weird ones in the corner. Anyway, so I'm sure he went to these homes and they're all there trying playing, into their cars or whatever, and that just goes over his head. And then he saw someone he can connect with because he's another geek or a couple of them playing music. And so Nick had a wah-wah pedal, I think, at the time. Anyway, and the bedroom door shuts, and there's all three of us in there for about 2 hours straight, just jamming away. And didn't hear a peek out of the bedroom. So his dad's going, are they still alive? You know, knocking on the door. each other for years. And Nick and I usually played in bands together, and Sav played in other bands and so forth. And we used to go and see each other. He used to play in a band called Jan the Boogie, I think the Relics and a few other things. And we used to go and see each other's bands all the time. And we always said we should get a band together. But it never just quite happened because he'll get snatched up somewhere else, we'll get some. And so this went on for probably about, let me think it through. Yeah, about 5 years or 6 years. Long story short, one of the bands that Nick and I used to play called The Undivided, that was a uni band. We used to play psychedelic sort of stuff. Finished uni at the time, we all went our separate ways. So both Nick and I weren't in any band. And the guy I used to study with architecture, he says, went to this party once, right? And saw this harmonica player. And here's his number, he was really good. Anyway, this is how the Streamlines came about. So we're still not in any band. This is back in 1987, 88. And he gave me this number. So I said, all right, no worries. And Nick and I looked at each other. Well, what do you do with a harmonica player? Let's start playing some blues.
JJKO, baby. Well, I go in the breeze. I keep rolling on down the road. Call me the breeze. I keep rolling down the road. I ain't carrying nobody. Carrying no load. I'll change the weather, changing me. Ain't changing the weather, ain't no changing. Ain't hiding from nobody, ain't no one hiding from me. Yo, I got the green light in the door to keep it on. I got the green light, mama. I got to keep moving on. I might go down to California. I go to Georgia. I don't know about you.
Yeah, we messed around with things. We didn't dwell deeply into it, but we had enough kind of mucking around with psychedelic would be the Dawes, whatever, that's all blues influence. So, and there was a great radio station, as I think Sav said, Blues Power with Paul Tweedy and Danny Mayman. Those radio stations were just a lifeline for us, because there were these people that were right into their genre of music. I mean, there was some other programs as well that we used to listen to, being the jazz or whatever, and Nick and I used to make these religious cassettes of stuff, because you couldn't get this stuff, and we have hundreds of tapes, detailed of who's doing what, and that was our source of inspiration, of listening to stuff that you couldn't buy at the time or afford. Then later on, about maybe 5 years later, you had a few more boutique record shops come up, the Umbrella Music, whatever the case might be, and you can go in there, and if you had a bit of dosh in your pocket, great, you can buy some stuff if they've imported it. I mean, the great thing I started to collect back then was all the Greasy Pop album stuff of all the punk scene,
Yeah, right.
And that was produced and recorded and pressed here in Adelaide.
Wow.
I forgot the chap's name, but he used to be in the...
Probably got you thinking about what was possible.
Anyway, so long story short, we were playing in different bands. I had this number for this harmonica player. I was ringing this number weeks on end with no reply. I go, what the hell is this? I saw my friend, I said, is this the right number? He goes, well, that's what he gave. I mean, it's just ringing out. Back then we didn't have mobiles. It was a landline, right? And it just came to me one time. I said, bugger it, I'm going to call after midnight. See what the hell happens. I ring the number after midnight and they pick it up, and it was some pizza bar. This guy worked in the pizza, he actually ran the pizza bar up in Salisbury somewhere, I forgot what it was called. And I said, can I speak to Roger? He goes, yeah, that's me. And eventually we started talking and said, well, look, I was given this number, we're thinking of getting a band together, let's have a little get together and see what happens. And we rang our mate Peter, who used to drum for us in the previous band. So we'd organised these rehearsal rooms right next to the Grace Emily Hotel. Those little row cottages there? They used to be these abandoned rooms. And Paul, forgot his surname, who played in bands like Wormtongue, and his brother also played in the Iron Sheiks, all punk bands at the time. Lovely guy, he used to run the rooms, or they weren't his, but obviously had some sort of arrangement that from the landlord or with our council owned, I don't know, but that was just getting quite derelict. And he used to rent out two of them or one of them. They had 3 rooms, a classic, duplex where you have a corridor with 3 bedrooms coming off. Anyway, and they had PAs in them. And he'll rent it like for $40 a month. You can use it as many times as you want in the middle of the city.
Wow.
There's your key, right? Lovely arrangement. And so we organise a audition there. So Roger turns up. There's myself and Nick and Sav, Peter, and we're just talking, or we just basically set up. It was a nice Sunday afternoon, and as I still drive the old Valiant, that was Dad's car, the Safari wagon, but that was our main car back then. Nick and I used to drive together all the time because it fit all the gear. It was parked on just somewhere around Weymouth Street, just near the Grace, or maybe just in front. And there we are talking in this room with this new guy that eventually became the harmonica for the Streamliners, or the beginning of the Streamliners. And all of a sudden, Sav's head pops into the room, and we say, "Hey, Sav, what are you doing?" He goes, "Hey, man, I'm looking for this audition, and I've been driving around for the past 5 minutes. I can't find this place. I can't find." So he was going to this other audition for another band.
Wow.
And we didn't know where the place was. I said, well, it's funny enough, we're just auditioning for bands. I said, well, you got your gear in the car? He said, yeah, we'll just bring the gear in and we'll just have it. And that was the birth of the Streamliners.
Wow. Just
by sheer chance, he was driving by.
And he recognised your car?
Yeah, he saw the Valiant. So he was driving around. He goes, oh, there's the Valiant. So he got out of the car and you could hear some music coming around because there was other bands playing. So he just followed his nose and he just saw us in the room, and that's how the formation of the Streamliners actually happened.
So yeah, the Streamliners was a band that started back in '89. Prior to that, with my friend Jim, we used to play in a band called The Relics. That was another blues band. That was with Jeff Gere on bass and Wayne, I can't remember his surname, the singer. And we used to do a few gigs at a few places at the time. You know, there was like the Granville Tavern on a Thursday night, I think, used to play. There was the Bridgeway Hotel, the Front Bar, the Woodman's Inn on the Sundays. They had a few gigs, so there was quite a few gigs going around. And yeah, that band went on for a little while, and then I joined this. We started doing with Nick and Dennis the Streamliners, and it was all in the same year. 1989 was the year that I actually started playing in blues bands.
Take it off. Take it all off. Take it off, baby. Honey, take it all off. I know you can do it. Get to it. Take off your coat. I'll hang it behind the door. Take off your wig. Let me play with your afro. Take it off. Honey, take it all off. Don't scratch my back, baby, with those fake fingernails. Take it off. Honey, take it all off.
It wasn't until 1992, I think, or 94, sorry, that we did the Deep South compilation that Nick wrote some tunes. You know, all right, I've got some ideas, let's put some, and that was the 4 songs. Hummingbird obviously was a great song, and I really like the other songs too, you know. Listen to the album, there's some real good work there, you know what I mean, and obviously and thereafter, all the others.
This is a tune we did a long time ago, on which Harry on drums played on, and
for him to play it again after so many years is a bit of a treat for both himself and us as well. It's called Hummingbird. Hummingbird, keep your arms down.
15 years, I've done 3 albums with them. You know.
Yeah. So you probably didn't play together after that for about 17 years.
No, we've done the old gig together. Well, Brotherhood of Love is a band.
Which is the original Streamliners, just with Mario on drums, eh? But we'll get to that in a minute. It's an interesting story.
So I was a different phase in my life at the time.
You were playing less music at the time?
But I played less music for a while. I had children, I was pulling back a bit, and I thought, well, you know, it's no time to be really... But obviously that didn't last for too long, because it would have been 2008 where I got that award for guitar player or something, and things started opening up again. It's like, you know, people started calling me, you want to do a gig? Have you got a trio? Dave Pearse? All right, I better start playing again. So, I mean, not that I stopped, but I wasn't as active, you know, so.
I want to dance.
Chris Saul, fantastic.
He's amazing.
That's Nick Kipridis.
Who's singing?
Singing? That's Travis Taylor.
Mm.
He goes right.
Sounds good.
One more mile.
That's right, that was in 97. I was approached for that project. It was called Blind Dog Taylor and the Healers then. The band was the Healers with John Carlini and Harry.
Later on down the track, I think it was 99 or early 2000, I met Sav through John Carlini and started playing with the Healers, where Sav was playing with the Healers. And then we started playing a fair bit with that band, mainly at the place it was at Henley Square.
But I think the Healers, that was One More Mile before it became One More Mile?
It was Travis Taylor and the Healers. Travis Taylor and then John Carlini's the Healers.
Almost One More Mile.
Almost One More Mile. Almost One More Mile, yeah.
Which, of course, you ended up playing in One More
That's right. I did, yeah. When I first started playing in One More Mile, it was Jack Mahalis.
All right.
Such a long way from home. I'm just a poor boy. Such a long way from home. Got no money in my pockets, no spare fleet on my bones. Had no money to pay the fine. I was arrested. Had no money to pay the fine. I'm just trying to get in touch with that sweet woman of mine.
Sorry, tell me about Jack Mihalis.
Well, Jack's in my band at the moment, the Call McCalls, and he was in the Chook Shed as well. But Jack goes way back, you know, to the Lounge Lizards, and he used to play with Greg Baker and Peter Thurmer and Fish, and those guys are all great musicians. And Jack's just lovely, you know. He's the meat and potatoes, great bass player, solid as a rock. And he's been doing it for a long time, so...
and he's cool as shit.
And he's got a great voice, and his demeanour and everything like that. I love the guy, he's great, you know.
So when I first started playing with that band, and for a long time we were playing, it was Jack Mihalis, myself, obviously Travis, Nick and Sav. So yeah, then Jack had left, and then Michael Winter joined.
And Travis was the singer, and James Meston was played with them prior to that. they'd done an album together, and James left the band, and the gig was offered to me. And I thought, yeah, I've got time. At late 90s, I had a bit of time. So yeah, I was the guitar player. And we did the album Cash to Splash, which is, it's a great album. I played with our band quite a lot in that year. We used to do like 3-4 gigs a week sometimes, and they go interstate, travel, Sydney. So it was pretty full on, and it was great because we, as you know, when you play together a lot, you develop a sound, and that was the album is actually great. And we played together for a while. Actually, we did build up after a while. In around the 2000, 2 or 3 years, we used to do a few gigs. So anyway, we did this gig at this place in town. I can't remember the pub, and there was nobody there. So we're playing, and it's just John, I think Harry or Mauri on drums, and Ed was there. He was the only guy in the crowd, and the publican said, "Well, look, you might as well wrap it up because nobody's here." And Ed goes, "I'm here." You know, like
and so they kept playing, no doubt.
That's the other thing, they would have kept playing.
How good was that?
Yeah.
Was this the one? Is this the one we did as Brotherhood of Love, or the one that?
No, this is the one you did as One More Mile.
As One More Mile.
But you know who pulls the string. You might ride the church band, but you know who pulls the string. I get up early in the morning, you
That's Travis's song.
But unrecognisable, according to Travis.
Unrecognisable.
He reckons that you completely reinvented it.
We did. We invented the groove. You know, Nick put his flavour on it, and we just joined in, and it was a lot of fun.
It was.
The brotherhood of love.
How did it happen?
The brotherhood of love. I'll tell you how it happened. We were supposed to do a gig at the Cinema for Workers Club as One More Mile. We didn't have a bass player, and so Dennis was filling in that night. And it just turned out that Travis was sick, and we played as a four-piece, right? So the show went ahead. So it was myself, Dennis Kipridis, Nick Kipridis, and Sav Palaktsoglou.
Happy accident. That's right. There was just a long jam.
We had such a great night. We had a special one, and then from there we said, "Oh man, we should do some gigs together." And it's a dream come true for me to be playing with those three guys. These are the three guys, and Steve Paterka, obviously, the three guys that I saw on that night in 1994 at the front page, and here I am playing with these four guys. So yeah, three guys, sorry.
Because it is almost, I was going to say, the original Streamliners.
It's the original Streamliners, just with me. Why me? I don't know.
Pretty cool, man.
It's very, very cool. Very, very cool. I pinch myself all the time. Yeah.
Home late last night. All you wanna do is falsify. Hey mom, what you trying to do? I love me and I'm meant to. If you don't know what's right.
He's very exciting on stage playing with Nick, and like you say, this different, and Dennis, because Nick and Dennis, they're one. They played together for so long that it's like when you play with them, you're playing with an entity. You don't just play with Nick and Dennis, you're playing with the brothers.
Ain't no change in the weather. Ain't no change in the leaf. Ain't no change in the weather. Ain't no change in the leaf. I from the Lord. Hey, oh Lord, JJ, come on.
Get a Chuck Berry there, man.
Isn't it killer?
Yeah.
Like their rhythmic sense and time feel is like no other, right?
We purposely leave it loose to have that element of spontaneity to it. Because if you rehearse with something like that, it can sort of kill what it's about, really.
And me having played with Nick for a long time, it's like, it's natural. We've been told once that we've got a great two guitar player sound.
Yes, you do. Absolutely you do. Very Fats Domino, Chicago thing going on here. Hello, Josephine.
Let's just go a little bit back. Adelaide's been a great place to grow up musically, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, got music. When I was like going out listening to bands in the late 80s, there would have been bands like, well, Jack with Fish doing the Fad Time, or then there was there was quite a few good bands. Steve Smith used to play with his band with Brian Morrison. Yes, there was a lot of good guitar players. Nick Panasaki used to play with Mick Bevan in a band called The Casualties that I used to watch a lot. They were just doing a lot of sort of James Brown, I can't remember the singer's name, Scully was the singer's name, but I mean, I wasn't there for the singing of them, I was there to see the guitar players, of course.
All right, there's Paul, Damo.
World class, world class.
That's Brad, is it? there are so many that are second to none.
Well, Stephen Hawke is another one.
Oh, my God.
Just a young guy coming through.
It's just amazing. And he plays everything, but that guitar, he just, yeah, that's...
it's part of him.
That's more than look, it is a gift, and he should always be grateful for that, but he works really hard. You can tell he works really hard on it.
Yeah, you've got to do the practice, yeah.
Yeah, and that just, once again, got a little bit of that Croatian background. Very similar to...
Hawke, he would too, yeah.
Very similar to the Greek thing. All those blue notes and stuff are in there. It's got, mate, I'm telling you, it's no coincidence.
Tell me about Mickey Finn, because Mickey Finn was a bit legendary.
Mickey Finn was great. Mickey Finn, I mean, I knew of them when I was a kid. I wasn't even, I'd just been dabbling in bands then, because I think it would have still been fraternity back then.
Yeah, we were a monster band, really.
I get that.
I got listened to some of the stuff we did in those days, and I think we didn't know how good we were. You know,
they did great. I mean, as far as I was concerned, they were my favourite favourite band, like rocking sort of band. You know, these days the Streamliners and you know, there's a lot of other great bands, but Mickey Finn, to see them live was like, it was just full on. You know, it was pumping. It was just, you know, from the word go, it just pumped. You know, sort of great guitar players. You know, sort of Mauri was brilliant and Stan was brilliant, and always tight rhythm sections. Bruce Howe playing in any band is, you know, super tight with, you know, Joff, JF, Tim, Carlin, and Trap. You know, there's always, you know, great drummers that really rocked hard, hit hard. So yeah, got the whole crowd going.
Big crowds.
Yeah, at times they really did big here in Adelaide, and they did all right over in Sydney and Wollongong and Newcastle and them sort of places. You know, some of the gigs in Melbourne were good. But here, you know, you could put Mickey Finn on at the stage door, 800 people, you know, 1,000 people, Bridgeway, you know, same sort of thing. They're always getting big crowds. They ran a lot of shows themselves, like Glenelg Life Saving Club, you know, sort of on a Wednesday night, and they still put 400 people in there, 300 people. Semaphore Hotel, they used to, that front bar would be just totally packed solid, you know, 300 in there. Then they went into the back, into the dining room part, and that used to pack out as well, you know, sort of, any time they did it was just packed, you know, so they did great, and, you know, just unheard of in this day and age, and they used to play a lot.
It didn't have any big ambitions. That's you know, we used to say TMR squared, take your money and run. and you know, just put everything we earned in our pocket instead of you know,
reinvesting it,
investing it back into the band.
Yeah, investing in a lot of good times.
Yeah. But we were going really well over there till Uncle's Ears started playing up. We played at this gig called Bombay Rock in Melbourne, and they had all these witches out the front and a massive PA, like a 1,000-person type venue, big venue. And he was bending over the monitors in the front, the big old wedges with his harp, and wah, 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 and it went bang, this incredible feedback, because his harp was feeding back half the time anyway.
Tweety bird noises.
I think it damaged his eardrums. So it kind of came to a halt. We had everything going. We just finished an album, the Mickey Finn album, finished it on the Sunday, and we're back in Adelaide on Tuesday with no band.
That's the ups and downs of...
Yeah. Had management set up everything. Les Simmons and his missus. He was managing Dutch Tilders.
Really?
So we toured with Dutch Tilders for a bit. We used to do our show, like
Double Trouble.
And Dutch would come on and do his thing.
A legend.
Yeah. I was a carpenter in Whyalla for a while. Did my apprenticeship and worked for PHP for a while. But there was, I really wanted to play something. Ever since I was a little kid, my uncle used to play harmonica and sing old Finnish folk songs. I remember sitting on a tree stump in the forest with a harmonica. I got a harmonica. And I was sitting there trying to play it. I was so frustrated that I couldn't get the notes in order to play something. But
good place to play though.
But yeah, oh yeah, yeah. But in those days we were lucky. We had 3 cars go past our place in the middle of Finland, in the middle of forest and farming areas and that. But yeah, then I sort of went to Whyalla.
How'd you come out to Australia?
On the boat. Yeah. Yeah, we weren't £10 poms being Finns. It cost us our house to get us over here. Had to sell everything we had to pay for the tickets. And arrived in Melbourne, and I think we had something like £4 British of money and 2 big cardboard boxes of knickknacks and things that we wanted to save.
To start again?
Yeah, from scratch, literally. Yeah, but you know, nobody complained. Dad was just, he decided he had enough. Times were really tough in Finland in the 50s. He was trying to run a trucking business and had a truck, and the cost of diesel and the upkeep and maintenance of trucks, tyres and all that was so expensive that it didn't really pay. So he just got really sick of it, and somebody was saying, you know, telling him at work what sort of wages carpenters and that were earning in Australia. That was when they were building this Snowy Mountain scheme thing. So they were short of workers, so we ended up over here and ended up in Whyalla, and then went to this Maltese friend's place, and he had his older brother's guitar with 2 strings on it. I was sort of plinking around with it. I went dang, 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 dang. I thought, I want to play this. First time I picked it up, I could play Peter Gunn, you know, more or less right. So I swapped the guitar for a packet of smokes, and that's how I started playing guitar.
Wonderful.
Yeah. But I just had this incredible drive, you know. And I just packed up, left home, and see you, Mum and Dad. You know, Mum was crying, but I wasn't. You know, I was just keen to, you know, advance somehow. You know.
And this is, you went off to be a musician?
Yeah, came to Adelaide, got a flat to stay in, went down to the cellar in Twin Street and met Alex Innocenti and a few of the other guys, and ended up forming a couple of bands from there.
What year was that?
68, 69, and in 1970 we formed Headband with Chris Bailey and Joff Bateman and Peter Beagley, who's Peter Head now. And that lasted about 3 years. Did an album, bombed.
Now it's worth about $500.
I know, just because it's really rare and obscure. You know, that's the word they use, obscure albums.
Obscure classic band.
Yeah. The music's not much good, but the cover's fantastic.
The cover is amazing.
Yeah, there's Vitas Sorellis, a friend of ours. He's a proper artist, you know, surreal style. So he did all the photographs and.
I can't afford to buy one of them.
This is Red Angel Panic and W.G. Berg. So that's our friend Mauri.
Yeah.
This is Spectrum are the headliner, but you see W.G. Berg, Red Angel Panic at the top there. Vince Lovegrove, Hard Time Killing Floor, all the local bands, and that's headquarters again. So that's a headband, sort of before headband, W.G. Berg and Mauri. This is the...
This I can't believe.
This is the...
I don't have a copy of this.
The headband album. That's the Vetus, and so goes it that you guys ran out of
Polydor.
Run out of money to colour it.
No, that's not right. No. He did it. I watched him do that cover there. It took him about 6 days of day and night without sleep.
Oh yeah, what?
With a pen and ink on a piece of plastic, clear plastic. There was a pink coloured one, but that was it. But the posters were sold independently from the record as a work of art. Yeah. This is why we combined art and music as integral things.
And he did the...
But Vetus did all these, that. These are Philip Morris photographs.
I love this, one of the Jester and the eyeballs.
Yeah, the Jester's great, love it. Yeah.
And yeah. Then we got picked in Sydney. We lived in Sydney for, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years.
Headband? Or?
Headband, yeah. We're doing really well.
Because prog was...
A lot of work. We did one stretch of 11 weeks. We played every night except for one Sunday. From 8 in the evening till 4 in the morning. That was hard, yakka. But you know, we just smoked a bit of dope and had a few whiskies and just enjoyed life. You know, I was walking around with pockets full of money, and you know.
You were working that much.
Yeah, but.
So what happened after that?
That broke up. I think the reason why it broke up was that fraternity. We had the same management as fraternity. Hamish Henry was his name. This millionaire who inherited a shitload of money, and he decided he's going to take that much money and have a go at becoming the next Robert Stickwood. So he set up this set of rooms in his mansion in North Adelaide, where I think he had about 4 or 5 bands, and every band had a room in his mansion and a manager. But anyway, fraternity won the Battle of the Sounds, and the first prize was a trip to England. So Hamish took him over there. They stayed there for probably best part of 2 years. And this is while Headband was in Sydney. And because I was friends with some of the guys from fraternity, we all knew each other quite well.
I reckon.
And so they broke up over there. Mick Judd left and the other guitar player left, and so there was just JF, Bon, Bruce and Uncle. They came back, and we were going to form a new fraternity, Mark II. But because of that offer, the Headband ended up breaking up. But then we were trying to get our shit together and learn songs and put up a repertoire of songs. And then Bon left and joined AC/DC.
Which didn't help fraternity.
Yeah, little nuggets of memories. Like, I was in the shed building these dirty great speaker boxes. We had these massive speaker boxes. We had 8 15-inch speakers in a single box on both sides. Like, that was the bottom end of the PA. But I was in the shed making these boxes, and Angus and Malcolm rolled up and went down in the cellar with Bon and did a bit of an audition. I was listening in the shed, you know. And the rest is history. He left. I said, "See you, Bon." You know. And we're all twiddling our thumbs, and then we thought, why don't we ask Swanee to join the band and become the singer? So he did that. And that went on for a while. We were starting to get a repertoire together, and I think we actually played somewhere with that lineup. But then JF left. He'd had enough. So, because Swanee was a drummer, So we thought, you know, and Swanee said, what about if I'll play the drums and I'll get my young brother to come and join the band, Jim. So Jim left Cold Chisel and came and joined us for about a year or so.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
No, it doesn't get much talked about. I don't know why. But that was another monster band too. We had Uncle on harmonica, had another guy, Peter Pearse, who played second guitar and electric violin.
So this is before Mickey Finn?
Yeah.
This is still Fraternity?
Yeah, that was Fraternity Mark II. It actually got on the road. But didn't make enough money to keep it going.
How long did it last?
Oh, probably 8 months, between 8 months and a year, something like that. And Jim and Swanee were so broke they were sleeping on mattresses in their lounge in that big house that we all used to live together in. So they couldn't handle it, so Jim went back to Chisel, and Swanee went to Melbourne or Sydney, I think.
Yep.
And so there was no band. And then I was sitting in a car going to the city to see some people with Uncle. It was just me and Uncle, and I was sitting there, Uncle's driving along, you know, and I was saying, what do you reckon we start a new band? And he said, oh, who would we have in it? I said, oh, well, why don't we get Joff? Joff will play drums. So we got Joff, and then Joff suggested bass player Bill McMahon that he knew. And so that was the original Mickey Finn. It was me and Uncle and Joff and Bill McMahon. And we spent about 18 months down in the cellar. We had a cellar in this big house. And we spent about 18 months writing all these songs. And we wrote about 24, 25 songs. And went out and started playing them live at the Tivoli and other places. It was all original. I can get you a disc of that sometime if you like.
It'd be pretty wild.
That's the original. It doesn't sound anything like the wild, you know, the rock, the real full-on rock Mickey Finn. It was more sort of a, I wouldn't call it art rock, but progressive rock, I suppose. You know, sort of real melodies. But it took me a long time to talk Uncle didn't want to be the singer, but I kept telling him, you got character, you know, like, look at Captain Beefheart, you know, like, he's no Robert Plant, you know, but he's out there doing it.
Genius, yeah.
Yeah, but it turned out I really loved what Uncle was singing. He was great. He wasn't a singer, but he was, you know, like, he's an incredible character.
The greatest lyrics.
I've mainly heard your friend play.
They're really bizarre. Most of it was pretty sort of out there sort of lyrics, but they're great.
But Ed Lange tells me that. He says, look, forget Cold Jizz and all that. He said Mickey Finn was a monster. They were the band.
Yeah,
they were. I stand by that.
Yeah.
But like you say, you didn't quite have a commercial sensibility.
Yeah, it seems like in my life, I must have a curse on me really. Like at critical points, about 3 times, something's gone drastically wrong. Like, you know, headband had it all sewn up, had this real power management, this Gene Pearse, ex-pop star from New Zealand, who conned us to gig with the Rolling Stones in Sydney and Queensland, in Brisbane. So we got that gig. And the only reason we got it was that the Rolling Stones wanted a grand piano. So Gene Pearse was managing the bands for Whiskey A Go-Go and Checkers in Sydney, and we played those 2 gigs, continuously. But Whiskey A Go-Go had a grand piano in the piano room. So he told them, oh yeah, my headband's got a grand piano. So we got the gig and we rolled up in Brisbane, and their pilots in the middle of this, it was all muddy because it was really, you know, in the middle of the rainy season, with half a bottle of Jack Daniels, having swigs and drunk as a skunk. And our piano was sitting in the field there near the stage, one leg broken off, all tilted up like that, in the bloody tropical rain. But yeah, so anyway, it was show time, and they told us you can't play because you're not insured, and if you get electrocuted, it was pissing down with rain. It really was, like really thick.
Yeah.
From the back of the arena, you probably couldn't see the band. It was so thick, and they said, "Oh, we can't take the risk of letting you play, because you know, if the power supply gets wet or something and you get electrocuted, we'll get sued." They didn't want to do that. But we did play with them in Sydney. Brisbane was first, then it was Sydney. And went out had a cup of tea with Mick Jagger in Brisbane. There's my connection to superstars. Yeah, he was, you know, really mild mannered and nice and everything. And yeah, there was this weird, you know, I think when I think back, I think I must have been tripping or something. Like, we got this phone call in the room. It was some girl said, "You guys want to meet Mick?" So I said, "Oh yeah." And so we went up to this room, and there she was naked in bed. And she said, "Oh, you know, Mick will be down in a minute." So I was sitting around looking at each other, thinking, what's going on here? So Mick rolls down and had a cup of tea and a couple of biscuits with us.
Very rock and roll.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it was just like talking to an accountant or something.
Yeah.
Just really sort of level.
Well, he went to the London School of Economics. So.
Well, that makes sense then. All he needed was an umbrella and a bowler hat. You know?
Yeah. There you go.
Beautiful. There.
Thanks very much. Ed Lange.
Thank you, Derek.
There you go. No worries, you were brilliant.
Well, I didn't say anything.
Yes, you did. You said heaps. Yeah, that one there is just going to clip onto your the Streamlines t-shirt's perfect.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Brand new one. Yeah.
Actually, no, I'm going to put it on this side over here actually, because you're going to be sitting in this chair here.
This one?
Yep.
Oh, I think you should have interviewed me 15 years ago when my brains were still intact.
Well, I filmed you close to 15 years ago, the first time I...
Yeah, that's about right, wasn't it?
Filmed any. You're the first musician I ever filmed.
I remember that.
There's Chalk.
Oh, that's before the shop fire too, yeah, wow. And there's Mora, yeah. That's... That's right. That bloody phone rang.